everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing another character history video, and this one, gotta admit, I'm not very excited about it. It is Squirrel Girl. Squirrel Girl is a Marvel character that seems like a fever dream or even a dark childhood trauma that we have all been suppressing for many years now. If you are one of the lucky souls that has never had to learn about this diabolical character, you may think that I just created this character from a sleepless night with too many substances in my system. I'm here to clear those rumors up and confirm that the 1990s to 2016 Marvel character known as Squirrel Girl is in fact real, and we are going to talk about it. I have literally never heard of this absolutely horrifying character, who, by the way, is officially a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe now, like the MCU. And I hope you believe me when I say I desperately wish that my friend Poppy, yeah, you, I'm calling you out, Poppy. I just wish that you would have never recommended this character to me. And I wish that I would have never deep dived into this character, because unfortunately, I thought that you were joking, Poppy. I did. Or perhaps misspelling a different character, or maybe just like, you know, pulling my leg, joking around, trying to give me something that's not real. But you weren't, were ya? You really wanted me to have nightmares for the rest of my life and struggle to cope with the knowledge of this absolutely terrifying beast. I have learned that this is by far the strangest character that I have ever come across, and although some people see her as a charismatic and uplifting, optimistic character, I see her as a bizarre and cringy thing that should have been left on the drawing room floor. I'm so sorry, but unbeknownst to me, this character has become a cult classic. Somehow also a top-selling comic book for years now. Like years and years and years. To that, I just have to say, how dare you? How dare you create such a terrifying beast? And how dare you make her powerful enough to defeat Thanos? She freaking defeated Thanos, like, all by herself. I just can't do it. If you want to know how she took down the Mad Titan Thanos, then you just gotta stick around, because we're gonna be discussing it. We're gonna go through her entire history. Just keep on watching. Okay, I would just like to say, like, a little sidebar here. Some of the information that you are going to learn about is actually quite interesting, but I still just can't help but laugh at the fact that so many creators sat down and developed this character and thought that a girl who's also a squirrel could actually, like, be profitable. And then it is profitable, but I just don't want to hear anybody's feelings, okay? I just don't get the appeal. This isn't really my thing, especially in the Marvel setting. And like maybe with anime or like a manga book or something like that makes sense, because there's some like interesting characters there. But with Marvel, like, I want the dark rated R, like, scary Marvel evil characters, not this. That being said, all of you who like Squirrel Girl, you can make fun of me for loving X-Men Origins Wolverine, or you can make fun of me for finding the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man is the best Spider-Man out of all three of them. You can make fun of me for actually liking the Andrew Garfield Spider-Mans more than any of their Spider-Man, okay? The cinematography is amazing. I didn't really mind the script. I don't know why everybody was like bagging on the script. And I love his costume. Like, I could go on and on and on and on. So I feel like we're equals here a little bit. You have a character I don't like. I have a character that you probably don't like. So we're even here, okay? And also just take all these jokes with like a grain of salt, because at the end of the day, it's literally just a comic book character. Like, it's not that serious and it's not that deep. So prepare for the roasts, okay? Anyway, we're even. First, I'd like to just discuss the evolution of this character and the comics that she has appeared in, so that her story has just a little bit more context, because I feel like with this one, it makes more sense, because you're gonna be like, wait, this doesn't make sense. This, like, flip-flops. This isn't very, like, cohesive. And the reason is because the history behind the comics that she was in is also not very cohesive, okay? So Doreen Green is Squirrel Girl's real identity, and she debuted in the 1990s comic written by Will Murray called Marvel Superheroes, and she was in the 8th edition. Will Murray created her because he had gotten tired of how gritty and dark all the Marvel comic books had been going, and he just wanted to find a new character that would be more lighthearted and more like empath and just nice in the Marvel universe. He thought that Squirrel Girl was that person that Marvel was missing. So if you know anything about me, then you know that I absolutely love charismatic, friendly, optimistic, happy-go-lucky characters. I just find them the most entertaining. A lot of people found her just as annoying as I did at the very, very start. I think she was just a little bit before her time, you know, because Marvel was going into this like deep, dark atmosphere, and then I think it was just not the right time for somebody so terrifying. So they scrapped her after that one comic. Nobody was really ready for that kind of change. I agree with them. Like, I want the blood, I want the sadness, I want like the heartbreak. I don't want this furry cosplaying squirrel portrayed as a girl, or the other way around, a girl portrayed as a squirrel. Okay, I just don't want to see it. But anyway, the character was not seen again until 2005. So 1990 she was there, and then nothing until 2005 when Dan Scott brought her back as a main character in the pun-filled Great Lakes Avengers, or the GLA. And if you ever hear me say GLA, it's Great Lakes Avengers. Okay, we love an acronym. And the acronym is GLA, Great Lakes Avengers. And it changes quite a bit, but it's Great Lakes Avengers. She is a 5'3" squirrel wrangling gargoyle that didn't have overnight success in 2005. Again, people were just not really ready for that big change. But it wasn't until 2006, so 1 year later, that Fabian Nicieza, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but Fabian wrote her into a Cable and Deadpool issue, which was issue 30, and everybody loved her. And I would just like to point out that this is also coincidentally the exact same year that Lexapro skyrocketed. Yes, the pill Lexapro, which helps with anxiety and depression for adults and children over the age of 12, was released the same year. So I think maybe all of us sad, depressed people finally got our medications, and we were like, wow, we want these nice people. We want all these like nice characters, like Squirrel Girl. Also, coincidentally, the drug Seroquel came out in 2006, and that treats schizophrenia. So I just think maybe the writers of Squirrel Girl should have taken Seroquel so that maybe we didn't get this scary character. Okay? I just think maybe antipsychotic medication would have been helpful so that we didn't have to see this terrifying creature in comic books. Anyway, Deadpool fans, they loved seeing Squirrel Girl on their comics, especially because it was this nice juxtaposition of like this nice, very, very sweet, very, very kid-like, charming girl character next to the equally as witty and fourth wall breaking as Deadpool, but Deadpool is like, you know, murdering everybody, anti-hero. So they just really liked that duo. Poppy, I just need to know why you did this to me, okay? I just need to know why you did this to me, because I just spent so much time researching this woman, and I just don't get it. Could you just tell me why? Because I just don't. Anyway, Scott and Nicieza teamed up and created Deadpool and the GLA, or the GLI. We'll get to that later. Summer Fun Spectacular. And there was nothing spectacular about it, okay? I mean, I will admit that I do kind of get this one a little bit, okay? The contrast between an anti-hero like Deadpool and somebody as like sweet and bubblegum friendly as Squirrel Girl does create like a powerful dynamic, but still, I just don't want to see her face. She's scary. She is scary to me. 2010, Squirrel Girl hit it big when Baron Bendis added her as a supporting character to the New Avengers comic books. So now she was in a top-rated comic book instead of just these random one-off comic books. Sadly, for some, not for me, but for some, she disappeared. She was dropped from the Marvel comic books altogether, and then 3 years later, the satanic duo of Ryan North and Erica Henderson reimagined her in the 2015 Unbreakable Squirrel Girl comic books. She sold merchandise. She became a top-selling character. I just don't know how I never heard of her until you brought her up to me, Poppy, because, I mean, the amount of people that love this character is absolutely insane to me. Now, not only is she huge in the comic books, you can catch her on her own podcast. Yeah, yep. She's a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. She has her own podcast, and it's called Marvel's Squirrel Girl, the Unbreakable radio show, but I think they should change it to the Unbearable radio show. So, yeah, anyway, it's voiced by Milena Van Troop. Van Troob. I don't know. It's this actress. Anyway, she's voicing her, and that's where you can find her now. And that's pretty much her entire weird evolution of being in the comics. But let's go ahead and break her down and get into the character history of her. Yay! It's kind of all over the place, not gonna lie. Now, the Greens. The Greens are from Canada, and they're excited because they're having a baby! Woo-woo! Dorian and Maureen Green are super excited because they are finally going to become parents. I have to just stop you right there. Doreen's parents named her Doreen, and her parents are named Dorian and Maureen. That is just peak writing right there. That is just peak name creating. It's just fucking gold. Stephanie Meyer really took notes from this comic book. I will tell you that. That is true. That's true history right there. Watch an interview with Stephanie Myers. Ask her how she came up with Renesmee, and she'll tell you. It was from Dorian and Maureen Green. Anyway, that's not true at all, but all that excitement came crashing to the fucking ground when their baby came out with a tail. Not just any tail. A furry, prehensile tail that looked exactly like a squirrel. Yeah, Dorian, her dad, looked at Maureen and was like, you have something to tell me, bitch? You been fucking the squirrels in the back? Everybody was like, whoa, what the heck? How does she have a tail? That's so crazy. And in the early comic books, the very first comic books that I told you about, the books explain that she was not a mutant. And she had gone through all this mutant training to see if she was actually a mutant. And she's not. The doctors had explained that she just had a weird birth defect. And I gotta stop you again, because what kind of birth defect is a squirrel tail? A fluffy, curly squirrel tail. That's not a birth defect, doctors. And luckily, sorry, I got a text message. Luckily, they changed that narrative in the GLA, the Great Lakes Avengers, and they did confirm that she was in fact a mutant. So it all makes sense now, I guess. Fast forward to when Doreen was 10 years old. She found a rabid dog chasing after something. What would that something be, you may ask? A squirrel, of course. What else would it have been? A chipmunk? No, that's her arch nemesis. Anyway, she saves the squirrel. She has a fucking conversation with it. Like, what? And she finds out that she can now speak squirrel. So not only does she have a squirrel tail, but she could also speak squirrel. And out of every single mutation in the entire world, you could not pay me money to want to choose Squirrel Girl. You couldn't pay me. You couldn't pay me. My computer's about to die. Hold on one second. You'd have to pay me not to want to jump off a cliff if I found out that I had a squirrel tail and that I could speak to squirrels, okay? I would literally check myself into an asylum, just like the writers of these comic books should have done. I just had a little bit of a chuckle. I had a little bit of a laugh when I found out that she could speak squirrel because, you know, I was just thinking of that scene in Emperor's New Groove when Kronk can speak to the squirrel and he's like, squeaker, squeaker, squeak, 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 squeaker. Anyway, Squirrel Girl walked so Kronk could run. We find out that the squirrel that she saved is named Monkey Joe. I don't know what kind of name Monkey Joe is. Where do we draw the line with these character names? Like, is his first name Monkey and his last name is Joe? Or is it a nickname? Because squirrels can, like, already do kind of things that monkeys can do. So why does he have to be in... Anyway, Monkey Joe convinces young Doreen to use her abilities to help people. And Monkey Joe becomes her sidekick. Squeaker, 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 squeak. She's only 10. And she spends a few years just kind of fantasizing about being a superhero and an Avenger. And she calls herself the Unbeatable Squirrel Girl. And I have a theory. I have a theory that all of the comic books and all all of the missions that Squirrel Girl was in is just one huge dream, and it's just an imagination of herself becoming a hero. And that just makes a lot more sense to me, and I prefer that narrative. But the proof does say otherwise, I guess, if you want to follow her story as canon, which I guess we kind of have to. But I mean, it's my headcanon that she is just imagining herself being this unbeatable squirrel thing, and she's actually just freaking unstable. The next time we see Doreen was when she was 14. She ambushes Iron Man in a forest outside of the Stark Enterprises tower, and she begs him to become an Avenger. And like, I mean, begs him. Like, she like gets down on her little squirrel knees, and with her little squirrel hand, she's like, please, Mr. Stark, please, please, please make me Avenger. And he's like, nah, kid, you must think I'm crazy if you think I would let you, weirdo freak thing, in my team. And you know, he's valid for that. I just know that if it were me, like if somebody came up to me and shoved a shit full of acorns into their mouth and scurried up a little tree, I would call the CIA, I would call the FBI, I would get them sent to Guantanamo Bay, because this is a federal offense. She is terrifying. As Iron Man is walking away, he's like, peace, weirdo. A little rustle comes from above the tree line. And who could it be? Dr. Doom. Boom, boom, boom. He beams Tony up and he captures Tony. He kidnaps him. I don't know if it's called kidnapping if you're not a kid anymore, but anyway, he takes him. Squirrel Girl decides that this is the perfect opportunity to really make a name for herself, and this is the time that she can save Tony Stark. She calls all of the little tiny squirrels that are in that forest, and she's like, yo, I need all of you to have my back, and I need you to form an army. And she's like, execute order 66, and all the squirrels start climbing on top of each other and making a huge giant squirrel bridge all the way up to Doom's spaceship. That's freaking terrifying. And the squirrels attack the floors of the room, and Squirrel Girl saves Iron Man. And that would just be absolutely fucking terrifying, bruv. Like, close your eyes. Close them. Close those beautiful eyes of yours and imagine in that smart brain that you're sitting down having a cup of tea, coffee, whatever you do with whoever you want in your house, and then all of a sudden a bajillion squirrels come into your house and they attack you, and just when you thought all the madness and the scariness was over, a scary squirrel maniac woman dressed in a squirrel costume with a squirrel tail comes in with clown face makeup on, and she tears and claws your face apart. You would be absolutely terrified, would you not? Would you not? Put it in the comment section down below right now. You would be terrified. I know you would. Squeaker, 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 squeak. Ultimately, though, she saved Tony Stark. He still passes on letting her join the Avengers, and I just think that that's so freaking funny. Like, damn, son, you can even given her, like, some sort of thing. Like, hey, yeah, you did great, kid. Here you go. Here's a medal. Thanks for saving me. No, he was like, nah, you're still freaking weird as hell. I think he did the right thing. I do. When she was 15 years old, so a year later, after the Tony Stark incident, Hulk lands in her treehouse in her backyard. I have fur. Squirrel Girl's attacking me. No, it's my dog's fur all over me. But anyway, lands in her treehouse because he's in the middle of a fight with Abomination. And she thought, gee whiz, this seems like the perfect opportunity for Squirrel Girl. The unbeatable Squirrel Girl, that is. Squeaker, 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 squeak. And she swarms the Abomination with her and all of her squirrels, knocking him out. And I'm just like, you're telling me that the Abomination was incapacitated by Squirrel Girl as well? Like, how is this just not written by an absolute maniac? And this is also totally in her brain, right? Like, it has to be. Anyway, we're gonna pivot slightly, and we're gonna talk about the Great Lakes Avengers, the GLA. The Great Lakes Avengers are fictional, obviously, and they are a superhero team, and they appear in many comic books, Marvel comic books, and the members include, I'm gonna read them off my phone, Hawkeye, Mr. Immortal, Big Bertha, Big Bertha, Grasshopper, Squirrel Girl, Flatman, Dina Sour, Dorman, Monkey Joe, and then later Tippy Toe. And we're gonna get to who Tippy Toe is a little bit later. But it is narrated by Squirrel Girl, and she breaks the fourth wall constantly. So fun, haha. But she is not in the first couple of like pages, scenes. She is just the narrator. And then she gets relocated to New York City. And in New York City, she hears a commotion in Central Park, of course, because we have to get the squirrels in there. So everything happens with her. It happens around a park, okay? Everything's in a park. A group of muggers are attacking the already formed GLA. She saves all of them. She kicks butt. They're just throwing this girl around like, bro, she won't back down. There's no way of beating her. And it's just, I do respect that, but as the same way, when you know that she is truly unbeatable, it takes the fear out of it, I guess. Like, you're just like, she's always gonna live. There's no point in, when she's there, you know she's gonna win. It's not as anticipating or like on the edge of your seat, I guess. Anyway, the GLA recruit her. They have a little bit of a kiki, but then Grasshopper dies. Somehow there's like another fight and Grasshopper dies and everybody starts to cry, but then Squirrel Girl is like, no, I'm determined to not give up. Like, bro, you just saw your best friend and coworker die and you're just like, squeaker 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 squeak. I don't know. Anyway, she hunted down the villain Maelstrom and she stopped him from destroying the world and using her squirrel army, of course. And at this point, I just have to stop and wonder, is it the squirrel army that should actually get all the recognition or Squirrel Girl who should get the recognition? Because honestly, the squirrels do all the work and she just ends up like at the end being like, I did it again. Like, she's exploiting these squirrels. She's just like taking all the credit. She is the Elon Musk of the squirrel armies. Squeaker, squeaker, squeak, squeak, squeak. Squirrel Girl's beloved sidekick, Monkey Joe, gets murdered by Leather Boy. She has her first canon event, and she's like, oh my gosh, that's so sad, haha. But she quickly moves on. Like, one little frame, she moves on. She's like, I need a new sidekick, hee hee hee. And then she finds Tippy Toe. And that is who I was talking about earlier. She didn't even mourn her best friend, Monkey Joe. She didn't even care about him. She was just like, I need another person. And she found him. And Tippy Toe was like, I can do that. And Squirrel Girl was like, will you die like the last one? Because I can't have that over my conscience. Like, you need to live, bitch. She goes on to defeat MODOK, Uatu, and then eventually Thanos. And now that we're on the topic of Thanos, we're going to discuss how exactly she defeated him and if she actually defeated him, because I don't believe that she actually defeated him, and we are going to discuss why. It's very controversial within the Squirrel Girl realm, and it's controversial because people who are sane, like me, don't believe that she defeated Thanos. People that love Squirrel Girl are like, yo, squeaker, squeaker, squeak, squeak, squeaker. So in 2005, we're back. 2005, Dan Scott brings this monster, friends with a monster, but anyway, he brings her back to life, right? And there's this drawing that shows Thanos dead on the ground and Squirrel Girl like, hee hee, I did that, ha ha ha. And then there's the Watcher who is saying that she killed him and this is actually the real Thanos, not a clone of Thanos. And the reason why this is important is because Dan wanted to poke fun at Jim Starlin, who is responsible for all of like Thanos and the Mad Titans and all that kind of stuff. Starlin always did this thing where whenever Thanos gets defeated or murdered or whatever, he would just say, oh, that's actually a clone of Thanos. That's not the real Thanos. Squirrel Girls fans went crazy because the Watcher, who knows everything and everything there is to know about what's going on with the Marvel people, he is the one that solidified that this is not a clone. So this is now like real canon that Squirrel Girl defeated Thanos. The Watcher knows everything, so why would that be wrong? So all the fans were like, oh my gosh, she's truly unbeatable. But this is where it gets sticky, okay? This is where it gets a little confusing, a little bit spicy, if you will. In She-Hulk issue 12, Eros, who is Harry Styles, was called to court, and he was getting persecuted for using his ability to alter people's emotions in a nefarious way. Thanos, who hates his brother, was like, this is perfect because I am under a lot of scrutiny for murdering a bunch of people. So I should go to that court and I should lie and I should say that my brother Eros has been brainwashing me and using his powers against me. So Thanos shows up to the court and he's testifying against his brother. He says, oh, I'm getting a telepathic message, a message from the great beyond. The message saying that Eros used his powers to make Thanos obsessed with death. So Thanos argued that the man Titan only fell in love with death, and that's the reason why he murders so many people, is because he's trying to become, like, scratch that itch. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's like, oh, is it Eros' fault that all these people are dead? And then big muscle lawyer mommy She-Hulk was like, that's fucking convenient for you, sir. You throw your sexy god brother up on the stand and you throw him under the bus so that you could protect yourself. And she was like, no, sir, I don't believe you. And so she uses Moondragon's telepathic powers to enter Thanos' mind, discovering that this was actually not the real Mad Titan. This was a clone, Thanos. This clone was a perfect clone. The clone of Thanos was so perfect that it could fool anybody, including the Watcher. When Thanos left and he gets destroyed by Squirrel Girl, that was a clone after all. It was just so good that the Watcher believed that that was the real Thanos. I don't know, it's pretty controversial. Put it down in the comments if you believe that she actually killed Thanos or if it was the clone of Thanos. A perfect clone, by the way. That's important. Okay, back to the madness of Squirrel Girl's history. She was offered a position at S.H.I.E.L.D. and she turns that shit down. She was like, nah, but S.H.I.E.L.D. was like, no, we recognize you now and we believe that you are this awesome, powerful, scary thing, that they have actually been watching her for quite some time. And she's like, nah, still, I like my friends at the GLA, so. They're like, but we need you because you're truly unbeatable. Ugh. Ugh. I just have to, like, do a callback. This is just gotta be in her head, you know? Like, you're just like a little kid and you're like, oh, and then S.H.I.E.L.D. comes up to me and is like, haha, we want you. But I would say no to S.H.I.E.L.D. Anyway, I'm gonna move on. But she says no. I don't know. Jesus Christ. I don't know why I care so much about this character, but I do. She declines the offer and she's like, I'm happy at the GLA. And the girl knows what she wants. And she wants that squirrel dick. We were all thinking it though. I don't think we were. The GLC comes into play, the Great Lakes Champions, and we're going to talk about what that is. The Great Lakes Champions is the exact same thing as the Great Lakes Avengers, but they changed their name because the Great Lakes Champions and the Great Lakes Avengers were having a poker night, and they were like, if the GLA wins, we get to have your name. And then they won. This is at the same time that there was the Superhero Registration Act. And if you don't know what the Superhero Registration Act is, you gotta watch my Bucky Barnes character history video because I talk all about it. Squeaker, 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 squeak. So the GLC, they register themselves, all of them, under the act, which is mandatory because they're model citizens, all that kind of stuff. But, there's a little bit of a mix-up, a little bit of misinformation station, okay? Deadpool, who was like, he gave himself the task of like being the bounty hunter for people that don't register under the Superhero Registration Act, was like, they haven't registered. The GLC has not registered. I'm gonna go and kick their butts, send them to jail, all that kind of stuff. They're breaking the law, breaking the law, breaking the law. Squeaker squeak. He attacked the entire group and he was like, okay, I've incapacitated all of them. Except for who? You guessed it, Squirrel Girl, of course. He was so distracted by her appearance and her name that he was laughing so hard that he was unable to defend himself. And Squirrel Girl attacks him, he loses. Like, Squirrel Girl literally defeats Deadpool. She defeats Thanos, not the real Thanos, the clone, and she defeats Deadpool. She's just truly unbeatable. And I love it for her. I would just like to do a little bit of a reenactment of this moment of how I think that this truly went down. Okay, so Wade, he's sitting there and he's like, okay, one last one of you weird kids to go, and daddy's gonna get a nice little payday. And then he turns around because he hears a little squeaker, 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 squeak. And it's, sorry, mister, but you messed with the wrong girl. And he turns around and he's like, what the fuck is you? is you? What the fuck are you? And he starts laughing, and she's like, what are you laughing at? And then he's like, what the hell are you wearing? Are those mouse ears on your head? What is this? And then she's like, they're actually squirrel ears. Then he just starts laughing even more, and he's like, what the fuck are you? The human squirrel? What is this? And she's like, it's Squirrel Girl, actually. Ha ha ha. She is like starting to get a little bit of annoyed because Deadpool keeps laughing at her, and then Deadpool's like, a squirrel girl? Like, everybody. Ha 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 ha. LOL. Tears are falling down his face, okay? Tears are falling down his eyes. His ribs start to cramp because he's laughing so hard. And the Squirrel Girl's like, hey, it's not nice to make fun of people. And then he's like, what are you gonna do? Shoot me with an acorn gun? And then she's like, I'll do you one better. And then she pounces on him and incapacitates him. Yeah, that's exactly what I think went down. So eventually Deadpool was like, hey, you guys are in fact a part of the Registration Act. My bad. Hee hee. But I can't go back there and like, you know, all the blame's gonna be on me. So I'm gonna stick around with you guys for a little bit. And so he sticks around with them for a bit. And he becomes like a reserve member. Their first mission together, to take down AIM. AIM. And what is AIM? I'll tell you. So tired of doing this freaking video, but here we are. It's so hot that I have an ice pack. So what is AIM, you may ask? AIM, AIM, is an advanced idea mechanics. Yeah. It's a criminal organization that was created by Baron Strucker. It's like with a bunch of aliens and stuff. It's basically like, it's kind of like Ultron a little bit. Along this time while they're fighting AIM, they get a new character called Speedball, and Speedball is actually named Robbie Speedball Baldwin, Alec Baldwin's long-lost son, Haley Baldwin Bieber's cousin. Nepotism at its finest, everybody. He becomes a member of the New Warriors, who is basically just another Avengers type thing, and Squirrel Girl is like a huge fan of his, and she's like, oh my gosh, I love you, and she kind of stalks him. Like, she scurries up in his tree, and she like looks at him. She's a peeping Tom. She looks at him with his little binoculars, her squirrel binoculars. She stalks him. She loves him so much. And she finds out that he transforms into a dark hero called Penance. And she was like, what? You, my make-believe boyfriend, who I have been stalking for so many years, are a bad guy? No, I need to stop him. And she tries to convince him to lighten up a little bit, and she follows him to Thunderbolt Mountain, and she's like, please, don't do this. Come back as the other guy. And he doesn't listen to her, obviously, and he's like, no, unlimited power. So she decides that it would be smart to go back in time to make sure that Speedball does not turn into Penance and like prevent him from all this stuff. So she goes back to the United States, and she's like, okay, I'm gonna sneak into Dr. Doom's mansion headquarters, and I'm gonna steal his time machine because he's got a time machine. She was like, all right, in the machine, what am I gonna do? Her little tiny squirrel brain accidentally sets the machine to the future instead of to the past. So she goes to the future. There's an alternate version of Speedball at the future. And he was like, sorry, that's a canon event. Don't mess with that. Just let it happen. It's all gonna work itself out. But also, you need to kick Deadpool out of the GLC. That's a weird thing. But she's like, okay. So she goes back into her present day and she kicks Deadpool out. And she tries to convince Speedball to come back to the past with her. And he's like, no, hell no, you fucking freak. He was like, nah, that phase of me being a villain, it needs to happen, blah, blah, blah. Then we get Squirrel Girl and Secret Invasion. This girl just keeps popping up. Oh my gosh. So the squirrels, this one's quick, but the squirrels launch their invasion on Earth, obviously, and Squirrel Girl and the GLC, now named the Great Lakes Initiative, so the GLI, they just, okay, the continuity is so great. They confronted their last recruit, who is the new Grasshopper. So the old Grasshopper died, remember, and she didn't really care. She was like, ah, mourning is for pussies. And so now there's a new Grasshopper, and they're like a little bit suspicious of him because he's new, obviously. And then they find out that he is a Skrull, and Squirrel Girl and her team defeat him, and they help defeat the Skrulls, and they get relocated from Nevada to Wisconsin. There you go. That fact's not needed, but whatever. Then we get to Squirrel Girl's heroic age. I'm just so done with Squirrel Girl, if you could tell. But there's a bunch of threats and a bunch of missions that Squirrel Girl was going on, and she was taking them all on by herself because she's unbeatable. Her and her squirrel army. Somebody take this bitch away from me. Okay, but she's unbeatable, of course. So she comes back to the GLI's like headquarters. She's like, "Hey guys, good job on another victory." And they're like, yeah, what are you talking about?" And she's like, "Yeah, I've just kicked like 20 people's butts and you guys were nowhere to be seen." And then they're like all fat and lazy and they're like playing poker, getting gambling addictions, all that kind of fun stuff. She's like, "Wow, I've really been doing this all by myself." She's like real Mother Goose energy. She was like, okay, you bitches ain't doing shit. I'm holding you guys back. You guys are not living up to your potential because I'm too strong. I'm too powerful. Hee hee hee. Maybe you guys need somebody that's not powerful as me, and then you can learn how to fight on your own. So she leaves those bitches in the dust. She was like, "Y'all need to be better." So she dips and she becomes the unbeatable Squirrel Girl all by herself with her squirrel army. So not really all by herself, but whatever. And do you know what else she does? She becomes Luke Cage's daughter, Danielle. She becomes her nanny. Danielle Cage's nanny is Squirrel Girl. Okay, sure. And she also lives in the attic of the Avengers headquarters mansion. Don't know why she just didn't like scurry up a tree. She also enrolled in the Empire State University. She was taking some classes there, and she becomes best friends with Nancy Whitehead and her cat Mew. She confronts Kraven the Hunter, and Kraven the Hunter is coming out this year. Not this year because of the SAG-AFTRA strike, but the year next year. And if you're excited for Kraven the Hunter, let me know. I do kind of think it's weird that they casted Aaron Taylor Johnson because he's Quicksilver, he's Pietro, and now he's Kraven the Hunter. But anyway, Squirrel Girl defeats Kraven the Hunter. So, you know, she's unbeatable at this point. I don't even know why I have to say that she beat everybody because she just does it. So she also meets Gwenpool, who is Gwen Stacy. If you know anything about like Gwen's multiverse, Gwen has like a bajillion different multiverse versions of her as well, and one of them is Gwenpool. Super cool. But her brother Teddy is captured in Mephisto's lair. Mephisto. Who saves him? Squirrel Girl. She also saved North America from the Frost Giants. She was completely unbeatable until tragedy struck when Melissa Morbick outed Doreen Green as Squirrel Girl. And so Doreen's whole identity was released to the public. Very Tom Holland Spider-Man, No Way Home. And then she also gets lured to Central Park by Melissa. And Melissa was like, "The Iron Ring." And she takes all of Iron Man's suits. And she's like, "And also, guess who's my ally? Dr. Doom." And Dr. Doom has a huge vendetta against Squirrel Girl because, one, he got attacked by a bajillion squirrels, and that's fucking terrifying, like I said earlier. And two, she stole his time machine. He just kind of hates her. But, of course, she's never truly defeated. She ends up winning. And she's embraced by the public. Yay! And the last time that we ever see her in comic books was when she finally realizes that she can do both, be a student at the university and be friends to all these people and be Squirrel Girl. And she lives happily ever after. Until the Unbreakable radio show, where she interviews and helps a lot of Marvel characters and villains. I thought that that was actually kind of clever. Even though I hate Squirrel Girl, I just think it's kind of cool that the MCU has created a place for such a beloved character in the MCU that's not like a part of the official MCU like lineup and phases and all that kind of stuff. Like, they're like, everybody loves Squirrel Girl, but we don't want to have her in this realm. So just like throw her own podcast. And the podcast, I have listened to a couple of things. I think some of them are kind of funny. Like Vulture calls in and is like, "I'm gonna attack you, Squirrel Girl." And she's like, "Don't do that." But yeah, that's where you can find her now. I don't know. I think it's kind of cool, but I kind of think that she's terrifying. So Really hope that they don't put her in any movies, but you know, here we are. Anyway, that's all for Doreen Green. So what did you guys think? Do you like this character? Do you love this character? Do you despise this character? Are you terrified of her just as much as I am? Let me know in the comment section down below. Also, if I forgot anything, or if, you know, you hated this because I bashed on your favorite character, I'm so sorry, but you know, it was all just for the laughs. So hee. Anyway, sorry Poppy for messing up your character and hating this character so much, but I would love to do more characters, probably not ones like Squirrel Girl. So if you want to see somebody different, in the comment section down below, give me some suggestions. I might be doing Loki, I might be doing Thor, we'll see. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more, like and subscribe. You can also put on my post notifications. I post almost every single week, and I also, yeah, I don't know. I love you guys, so. Squeaker, 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 squeak. Bye.